Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to the Duck Talks number 23, and today we will address certain issues that have actually been addressed by Gaijin, and we will talk a little bit about it. But first of all, I want to talk about all the topics or mention them in the beginning. First of all, I want to answer 3 questions from the last Duck Talks. Then I want to talk a little bit about the very interesting server update, which basically concentrated on trying to kind of rebalance AAA vehicles to a certain degree. It was a right step in the right direction, but Gaijin did not go the full 9 yards. Then the survey for ships is still there, link in the video description. You know, this is your chance. Then I want to talk about the new location and the new ship that we saw on, because again, this is a ship that I have in my book with an interesting story. Then we want to also talk about the premium players, free-to-play aspect, probably pay-to-win aspect, premium vehicles. You guys were very keen on me talking about the T29 versus King Tiger, and also probably having a first impressions on the Focke-Wulf 190. I think I released a video yesterday. And yeah, I think let's begin with the questions. First of all, I hope I pronounced the name right. Dacthio asks if I have tried the Ferdinand lately, and if I can explain the bounces on the shells. That's the essence of the question. First of all, I tried to make a tank review on the Ferdinand for quite some time, but then there were always a lot of things that came into my way that had to be done before I could make a tank review on that. The new patches, then new interesting tanks, the ships of course, and certain planes, other issues, and so on. And the next thing is, I didn't get good footage for the Ferdinand, and it never, represented the Ferdinand in the way that I had it in memory, up until the point that I remembered that the Ferdinand is again one of those tanks that is for a very long time in the game, and has changed significantly directly and indirectly. And one of the indirect things is of course the power creep. We saw up until here 3 additional nations when we go from the point of view from the Ferdinand. First, the Americans were introduced, that brought a PCR with them, which works perfectly fine against something like a Ferdinand. Then also the British with their APDS, same story. Then also the rate of fire that it had, especially for it, is now accessible for all the other 88s on German vehicles as well, the long 88 specifically. And then we also saw the Japanese, and they of course caught my attention because there were new shiny tanks and I had to cover them. So yeah, as awesome as the Ferdinand was a long time ago, it had suffered greatly at the hands of a power creep. And I'm not even beginning here to mention things like the post-war shell on the IS-2 mod 1944. Then the random bounces from 88s, well, I guess you use the APHE shell, right? Because nobody uses APCR on the long 88. If you do so, stop doing that. I don't know what you use, but this is a very fast explanation. The second explanation, maybe you have issues with the game lately in terms of stability, ping, packet loss, lag spikes, whatever, it can happen. On the other hand, maybe you interact more and more with armor that you're not used to. If you play arcade and you see a lot of those tanks from those Japanese tech trees that you want to shoot, and then you for some bizarre reason bounce. You said that there were some issues with penetrating shots that you actually should penetrate. I know what you're talking about. I can't explain them myself all, which is a shame because I'd like to. Then ProRedCat asks, what internet speed do I have? Well, basically very slow. To make it very short, for a 1080p video in 60 FPS, it needs somewhere between 50 minutes to 1 hour, up until the point that I have uploaded 5 minutes of video. So you can imagine it will take some time, up until the point that I've uploaded a 30-minute tank review. So I make it overnight, and I try to make my videos shorter and shorter, but at the same time want to keep some kind of quality. Yeah, funny, I know. Yeah. But on the other hand, I can't cut my tank reviews without them becoming, Joe Average tank reviews, which is stuff that I don't want to make. Then 40-second Shark asks why the series is called Duck Talks. Well, basically, the first Duck Talks that I made was an enduring confrontation match where I played the duck excessively, if I remember correctly, and I liked the duck back in the days. And since then, new planes were introduced, namely the German Heinkel 219A7, which is practically like the duck, just better. With more guns, more ammunition, can do everything better. And yeah, I think it was me rambling, and ducks are also not very silent animals, to be honest, so I thought it would be kind of fitting. So that's it with these questions. If you have questions, feel free to ask them here if you want to, want to know my opinion towards something game related. Then the server update. Well, good idea, Gaijin, but you really didn't address the major aspect of it. You tried to, but you didn't. What are you talking about, Napalm? Well, there was a server update. You will find the link to it in the video description below, where Gaijin did some balancing changes, some renaming, and yeah, then also some repair times or crew replenishment times were addressed. And namely the German and the Russian lightly armored vehicles. They are now basically getting nerfed when getting hit by a heat shell or a big high caliber shell. The armor gets practically destroyed, not pierced but completely destroyed. So now you kill those tanks that were basically very annoying. I think that's a good change. But the other thing that is now not addressed that much is, for example, on ZSU-57-2 got a nerf in the shape that the top penetrating round now is mixed up in the belt with HE shells. So it's very similar to the stock belt, just with high penetration on the armor-piercing high explosive shell. But still there is this 142mm APHE shell. And the stock shell still has more high explosive, has more penetration than from all the other AAAs in the game, the highest penetration round, but it also furthermore keeps the penetration for a very long time and has a high explosive filler. So with one clip you now can't one-shot 4 Leopards, you just can do it with 2. Oh, what a shame. Well, and you still can use this 4 APHE belt that has just 121mm, which is, still more than all the other AAAs have in the game. I think in this respect the Kugelblitz was a bit buffed actually, because it now has a better usable universal belt. I'm talking here about the Panzergranate H belt with 1 HWAP shell and 2 mine shells. Previously you had the choice between 3 HWAP shells and 1 mine shell, or another belt with 1 HWAP shell and 3 mine shells. I think this is a pretty good belt. And yeah, then the Flakpanzer Gepard has now the same belt practically as the Falcon, the British AAA, which both have now 1 HWAP shell. In the shape of the Falcon, it's actually an APDS shell, and 3 high explosive shells. And the Flakpanzer Gepard has 112mm of penetration, while the Falcon has 110mm of penetration. So in this respect, well, we will see how it works out, how the effective is actually on the battlefield. That needs a lot of testing and a lot of feedback from all the other players. Then let's come to the survey for ships, and you will find the survey from Gaijin towards this topic in the video description below. Please take a few minutes and answer it. This is your chance to influence the further development direction as good as you possibly ever can from now on. And we also see this new location, and just from Sorry about that. And just from the first look of it, the English shore with the lighthouse, it looks amazing, but the aerial view is not very promising. Again, the map is cut in half, so again, this actually favors long-range torpedo sniping, and again, it favors defensive playstyle. I hope Gaijin reworks that, or I just see a very small portion of the map here, because there is literally no other way around it. Furthermore, we see here a new ship, and from what I've seen on Reddit and also the comment section and so on, it's the artillery ferry. Which one, I don't know, but again, this is a German vehicles, and we have basically a very slow armored ferry that was redesigned as practically a gunboat, and guns it does have. Two submarine 88mm guns, and also two Wirbelwind emplacements practically. So two dual, two no, two quadruple 20mm guns. All those numbers. It was built in 1943, the one that I have, the artillery ferry AF-46, and it weighs 400 tons, or it has 400 tons of water displacement. It is 47 meters long, it's 6.55 meters wide, and it has 390 horsepower on 3 propellers. And with 8.7 knots, it's rather slow, but has a manpower of 48 persons on board. The armor is the interesting one. Because it's being so slow, the designers gave it 20mm of so-called Wotan hard material on the waterline. And you know, the steering emplacement, or basically the bridge, got the same amount of protection, and the shields for the guns have as well this 20mm of Wotan hard material. I guess this should be some special kind of steel that the Bismarck was armored with, I guess. Then, for example, the Citadel, together with the ammunition chambers, or the ammo racks, were protected by 100mm of concrete. Interesting. No, really, that's interesting. How will Gaijin implement this? And does this mean we now have something like armor-piercing shells? We get that? Please, Gaijin, sniping other artillery ferries with 88s, please? That would be amazing. And yeah, they were rather slow, and a lot of them were built, if I remember correctly, around about 117 MFPs were built. They did a good service, but nevertheless, it didn't help Germany out greatly. However, I will be very interested in seeing how it works out. But again, it seems like the armament here on those ships is a little bit different, as there are additional guns visible, but nothing too spectacular. From what I see on this one picture, it looks very similar to that ship. Looks kind of pretty sturdy, to be honest. Okay, then let's talk about something that I wanted to let you know. First of all, a lot of the people said in the comment section so far regarding the ships, yeah, it looks boring all the same, and so on. For all of you that just know a lot about tanks and planes, let me say it like this. Saying that all the ships are the same is like saying the T-29 and the King Tiger are exactly the same. Or let's say that the Panther II and the T-44-100 are the same stat-wise. That's for planes. It's like saying, yeah, the Spitfire MK Mark 9 and the German Focke-Wulf D9, they have basically the same armament, they are fast, and both are planes, so they're also the same. Who cares about this plane? Whoever knows, about those specific examples knows how great the differences are in there, and they are also feelable in the ship combat as far as I tested them. However, people have to get used to it, and they have to jump over their shadows. Speaking about jumping over your shadow, what's going on currently with you people ranting so much about premium players? Honestly, what's up with you? You know that they are the persons you profit from. How do you profit from premium players as a free-to-play player? Yeah, they keep the game free-to-play so that you can kill them. Now, first of all, I have to say this. A normal aspect of premium is practically that people pay the developers indirectly by purchasing, content or premium accounts rather, and so the developers can continue the developing process, can bring in new content into the game, and so on. So why is all the hate? By default, a free-to-play player is not worse or better than a normal one. Yes, there are people that just got fed up with the grinding and they purchased themselves a tier 4 premium plane or tank, and in the future also premium ships, and yeah, they suck. But at the same time, a lot of the more ambitious players that play the game for hours per day, they are rather or they are better than the so-called average free-to-play player because they are more into that, but they also want to enhance their process and their progress, and then they are the better ones. So you have kind of two extremes of premium players, very good ones and very bad ones, but also average ones. So at the same time, there is no big difference in terms of ratio, I guess, to the normal free-to-play player. But the free-to-play players are those who complain about the pure existence of, premium content in the game. I agree when it comes to certain premium vehicles that are alternativeless and are so much better than their tech tree counterpart. And nobody that I talked to so far said yes. No, nobody so far said, no, Napalm, you are wrong. The T29 is not better than the Super Pershing. Oh boy. Oh boy, the T29. When I made these first impressions on it, the comment section got wild for my, standard on my videos. And a lot of you wanted me to talk about the difference between the T29 and the King Tiger and so on. Here is the problem with both the King Tiger and the T29. Both vehicles should get 7.0 matchmaker, but at the same time, all the vehicles above should get increased battle ratings as well, because then the T29 and the King Tiger get screwed over again. And we all remember the times where the King Tiger had to face the T10M. Yes, good times, yeah. So you see where the problem is. A lot of the problems are interacted. And I guess for increasing the battle rating to, let's say, for a first step, let's just say 9.0, right? There are not enough high-tier vehicles. Especially in the Japanese tech tree, we see a lack of high-tier tanks. I can understand it. It's the latest addition in terms of tech tree to the game, so we will definitely see some additional content there, but you know where I'm going. So, I think that the T29 and the King Tiger are fairly balanced against each other. However, the T29 has an unheard of amount of armor and also firepower and survivability. That's the thing. I got shot so many times in the lower plate and just my radio operator and my driver died, but not my gunner, so I could swing the turret around and just blast my opponent into the next match. And that did not really feel fair because I can't remember of any other tank that could do this except the King Tiger, but the King Tiger does not have to face, for example, Panthers. And I did not get up tiered too often with the T29, to be honest. So that's the next thing. Yeah, and not everybody agreed, for example, on the tank review on the Type 61, where I said that it's a problem because it drags all the German 6.7 tanks into 7.3 matchmaker. I had my reasons, that's just my experience. If it would not have been my overwhelming experience, I would have not made that statement. And yeah, that's leading to the end. So before you rant about something, actually ask yourself if you profit maybe from that, regarding all the hate against the premium players. And for all new players, there are not too many, I guess, that listen to the Duck Talks. Think twice before you buy yourself a high tier premium, because if it is your only tank, you screw over your team, especially if you don't know how to play it. Learning comes from doing the progress. But there is a difference between having a relentless, repetitive, stupid grinding process, for example, on the M47 and the M48. It doesn't teach me anything to get one-shotted and being unable to deal damage to the enemy. Alright? So, in this respect, that's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a like. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the topics that I mentioned. Please don't forget to look up the links in the video description, especially the ship survey. If you don't answer it right now, you can't blame anybody except yourself in the future if the ship section of War Thunder doesn't go into the direction that you want. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed already, that's your chance. Subscribe now, and we will see each other on the waves, in the skies, and on the battlefields of War Thunder.